Our intro debate today is Ty Miller, who fights Jimmy Drago at Dana White's Contender Series Week 1. That fight is on August 12th. So, Ty, I like starting here with all the Contender Series guys I've talked to. You know, you obviously got the call, the chance to fight in front of the boss man. Give me a little bit of what your reaction was like when you did get that call.
Yeah, I was super excited, man. So I first got offered to fight a Japanese guy on a week's notice for the UFC, and I can't remember his name. It was like Kinoshita or something like that.
Yep.
He's 6-3 in the UFC. I accepted and he declined it, and so it didn't seem like Sean Shelby was too happy with him. But he gave me the opportunity to fight for Dana White's Contender Series, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, man! That's the next best thing." You know what I mean?
So with that, with the fact that Kinoshita turned down that fight with you, did you kind of know this was happening? You like had an inkling that when Contender Series rolled around in the summer, you were going to get that call?
Uh, kind of. I didn't know if they were just going to move on or if they're going to offer me another UFC fight or Dana White's Contender Series. But yeah, I guess I was leaning a little bit more towards Contender Series.
Okay, so you had in the back of your mind, so it wasn't too big of a surprise. Now I got to ask you though, because you're super young in the game. You're only 25. You've only got 6 pro fights. Like how do you feel about this coming at this stage in your career? Do you feel like this is the right time for that?
Yeah, I think so, man. I feel like especially now I'm really starting to find my style. My skills are developing. I'm getting bigger, stronger. My cardio's getting better. I have better fight IQ, and I think right now is the perfect timing for me.
I love that. And you mentioned getting bigger too. And, like that's the thing that happens when you're 24, 25, right? Like you start, filling out a little bit. You're already huge for this division, right? Like you're the tallest guy in this division, or at least on the regional scene in this division. Is it hard for you increasingly to make that weight?
Yeah, it's been getting harder, but everyone does the same shit though. Everyone cuts like 20 to 30 pounds, so it's if they can do it, I can do it too, man. And I got other fighters like Tim and my coaches John and Matt Priest kind of to help me guide me on the weight cuts and stuff. And I have a little bit to relate to with Tim, because we have similar frames and sizes, and so he kind of helps me with the nutrition part and the weight cutting part, things like that.
Well, I was going to ask you about that training camp too, because it's a training camp. We saw a bunch of people in the UFC years ago, right? Like, Ray Borg came out of there and Tim Means came out of there. And, there hasn't sort of been that new wave. Like, you're sort of the new wave of, fit NHB guys in there. Is
Yeah.
that kind of the way you see it too? You're like the first set of the new guys to get in?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was thinking about that just the other day. I feel like I'm kind of in Tim's shoes now, where he was kind of that guy in the UFC and on the up, and now I'm kind of in his shoes now.
And how beneficial is it to have a guy who's, not just been there and done that, but as you said, similar frame, similar size, all that kind of stuff? How beneficial is it for you to have a guy who's kind of, laid that groundwork for you?
Yeah, it really helps, man. And the coaches that help him get there, like Tom Vaughn, Arlene Sanchez, John Judy, Matt Priest, they can all of them can help coach me, and they already have like a good idea on how to work with a frame like mine, and a lot of people don't know either. Carlos Condit came out of our gym too, and I feel like I have very similar builds to both of them, and so yeah, I feel like I'm in the right hands with the right gym, right people.
Perfect, perfect. Now, out of curiosity, I know you took your first Andy fight when you were only 18, right? Like shortly after your 18th birthday.
Yeah,
Has it been NHB the whole time? Like, have you been with these guys the whole time?
the whole time, man. I rarely go and spar at other gyms too. I mean, my one of my striking coaches, Arlene Sanchez, would take me to other boxing gyms and stuff. But as far as MMA gyms, I like this year I barely went over to Ray Borg's gym to get some different looks and go spar over there. But yeah, I've always been with FitHB, man. They've always been loyal to them, so you know I return the loyalty.
So give us a little bit of the origin story then too. If you took your first fight at 18, I got to imagine this has been a dream of yours for quite a long time. So how did it be that you wound up, in this situation?
It's just something that always caught my eye growing up. For one thing, my dad being the way that he is, he's a pretty tough dude. He likes to scrap. He was a hard hitting football player in El Paso, Texas. There's something about him that I knew, like, he was kind of a bad motherfucker, and I wanted to be like him, and he would uh, rent the pay-per-view events, for boxing and MMA, and it just always caught my eye, and I was always a pretty lazy kid, man. I never really wanted to do anything except play video games and watch TV, and so that's what kind of got me off my ass and got me to be motivated and pursue a career.
And was there, you just said you got to watch the pay-per-views with your dad when you were younger and stuff like that. Was there a fighter that you watched where you were like, yeah, I want to be that guy?
There was I'd have to say it was either like Chuck Liddell or BJ Penn, but mostly BJ Penn. I really like a lot of the Hawaiian fighters, man. There's something about them.
I like it. I like it. Now you can see a little bit of that in your style too. That we're gonna throw down kind of guy. So let's talk about styles and stylistic matchups, right? Because we got this fun fight coming up with Jimmy Drago, another guy, who likes to throw down. Like this is a guy
Yep.
who's gonna match that style. So when they came to you with that name, and you got to look him up a little bit, what were your first thoughts on him?
Uh, my first thoughts were, absolutely, I'll fight him. And then, as far as like his style and what stuck out to me, he's a really athletic type of person. You know what I mean? He's pretty explosive. He's fast. Looks like he hits hard, throws a lot of kicks. But I feel like I already know what he's going to try to do, and I feel like I've fought his style a lot throughout my career. His same tactic, same size and build. I've fought that same style at least 4 or 5 times by now. You know what I mean? And so, I know what I'm in for. I know he's tough. I know he's going to bring it, but I'm going to bring it too.
Well, that leads me perfectly to my last question. I love to end these things with a prediction. So tell me, August 12th, Dana White's Contender Series. How's this one end?
I'm looking for a knockout, man. And I think it's going to go that way.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. This is Ben Ty Miller, who fights Jimmy Drago at Dana White's Contender Series Week 1. Once again, that fight, August 12th. Ty, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, man. Have a good one.